In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the test-driven development approach to build a data model. Now, suppose we want to build an app that requires a data model that we can store informations such as names, descriptions, location, and a location have a name and address, and how we supposed to do that. Now let's look at the process of how to use the test-driven development approach. The first thing in this process is to write a test that is going to fail. Once that test fails, we're gonna fix the code and make it look green in the compiler. And then the last step is to refactor your code. I'm gonna open the same project that I have from the last video. You can open a new one if you want, but you wanna open a file and select the unit test class. Make sure you select the right one. And you can give it a name. I'm gonna call it to-do item test and click create. This is gonna create a brand new test class that you can use to create your data model. Before I do anything, I'm gonna create a new folder, name it model, to store my data model test so I can find it easier later on. Then I'm gonna open my files and create another new file called a to-do item. This is where my data model is going to be. Usually you don't do this step first. Usually you have to write your test first and then create a file. But I'm gonna do this first here, and I'm gonna show you my data model so you can have a expectation of what your final result will look like. I'm going to click on my test file so it will show up on the left side of my screen, and press option click on my data model class, and you're gonna show it on the right. So this way I can look at it both sides and go back and forth easier. I'm gonna quickly copy and paste my data model that I just created. Okay, this is a pretty simple data model, and this is what the final result will look like. Now I'm gonna comment it out, and we're gonna try to use the data-driven approach from test and create something that looks like that. Now clear your mind of the data model you just saw. Let's pretend we don't have anything, and we're trying to make a to-do item. And we want to make a data model, and in our to-do item, we need a name for the item. So let's create a name for our data model. How are we gonna do this? Let's write a test, and I'm gonna call it test init item name. Okay, I'm also gonna rewrite the function name. I'm gonna actually call it a to-do item name, to-do item initialize name, so I can remember it later on when I look at my test. Now, this very first step, you need to use your imagination. Imagine you have a complete data model in your head already, and our to-do item data model have a name. So the first thing you want to do is to test the name of your data model. So I'm gonna create an instance of my data model with a name, and in my imagination, the data model I have is called to-do item. This step is kind of strange because we don't have a to-do item struct yet, but here we're writing as if we have the struct, but that's exactly what we want. And I also want to write an assert test to make sure that I initialize the name of my struct. Now let's click on the red circle and see what the compiler is telling us. Well, it's telling me I don't have a to-do item. Well, obviously. So right now, I'm gonna follow the errors. The errors is going to show me what to do. So if I don't have a to-do item, I'm gonna go to the right side in my data model and create a to-do item struct. And I'm gonna have a variable, just one, called a name, because that's what I'm testing right now. I need to make the test pass for now. Okay, I type in the word and press the diamond button in front of the function, or you can press Command U. And I test it. It's testing right now. It's kind of slow. It takes about 10 seconds sometimes. But I didn't see any green buttons light up, so something went wrong. I'm just gonna press the diamond shape in front of my test function and try again. Might be something wrong with the compiler. Yes, it shows test success. Some of you might not able to find your data model on your test class, and this is why you need to add @testable import and your project name. You need to do this step, otherwise inside your test class you won't be able to find your to-do item structure. And I'm going to show you why mine works for now. Now let's look at the Swift file that I created for my to-do item data model. Look on the right, the target membership. I am supposed to check on the first one, the example app, but I check on the second one, the example test. That's why my test class is able to find it, because they're in the same place, the same member or same target. So to fix this, just open your to-do item file and uncheck the example app test and check the one on top, and then just import the @testable and your project name, then it should work. Now the first test is complete and we can successfully initialize the name. We're gonna add a description, so we're gonna add another test. I'm creating another instance of to-do item, and this time I'm gonna initialize the name and pretend we already have the description, so I'm gonna initialize that too. And now I also need to write an assert test. This time I need to write a test for the name and a test for the description. And take notice that when I created the assert equal and test my description, the description I put there is different than the one I initialized. So this equal test is going to fail, and that is exactly what I want. I'm gonna fix the error first. I'm gonna add a description in. Now that I added the description in my model, I'm gonna run the test again and see what happens. Oh, okay. I have an error for my first test. Now that I have two variables in my data model, I need to initialize them first, but my first test only initialized one. I'm not going to fix my test, but I need to fix my data model. I'm gonna write a customized initializer because user might not want to input a description, so a description is optional. And I'm gonna set a default to nil. This way it will fix the problem for my first test. Also, I want to change the assert equals for both name and description. I'm gonna make them different than how I initialize it, so I can see an error. Now testing it, Control U, Command U, I mean. Let's open up the log file. So the name is different. Now let me fix this so I can pass the test. Change the name to be the same name as I initialize it. Okay, now it passed. So we finished the first step, the red, and fix the test. The second step, make it green. Now we need to do the third step. We need to refactor the code, because currently the code inside the test is kind of ugly. We don't want to retype our description and name again, because we might by accident type it wrong, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna create two variables and replace them with when you refactor your code, you have to test them again to make sure everything is correct. Okay, now we're gonna write our third item in our to-do list. It's gonna be a location. Give the function a name that you can remember later on when you're looking at this test for your data model. Well, the location is another struct. Since it's another struct, we cannot skip the test. We do have to write the initialization for the location name and address. You might feel kind of annoyed writing these stupid tests, small stupid tests, but in the long run, it's gonna save you a lot of time. Especially in the beginning, it's a good practice. I'm only gonna initialize the name first. Then I'm gonna write another test to initialize the address after this test is passed. We don't want to skip steps, especially when you're first learning this. And also for my assert test, I'm gonna make it fail. Now I see the red warning on my compiler. It's telling me I'm missing a location structure. So I'm gonna write the location struct. Underneath this to-do item, you can also create another file to write a struct. It doesn't matter, but easier to look at it this way. And something is wrong here. Oh, I see. I'm trying to compare the whole structure location to a string. That is not going to compare. So I need to fix this. So we use the dot notation to get the name out of our location structure and compare it to whatever, and press test. Well, it says the 99-cent store is not equal to whatever. It failed, so we just finished our first step, make the test fail. Now we need to make the test pass. Now we need to do our second step. After make it fail, we have to make it pass. Now we can move to our next test to initialize the address, and address is going to be optional. We don't want to force user to enter address when they're creating a to-do item list. So this test is going to be the same as other ones. We're gonna add in an address, and once we add in an address, our first test for the location gonna show an error. Then we need to do the same thing. Just like for the to-do item, we need to write a custom initializer. For this function, I need to write assert and then give it a name that's going to fail the test. added a description. Yeah, see? Now we need to write a customized initialization and then set the address to nil. Sometimes the compiler acts a little bit weird. When I press the diamond button next to the class, it's supposed to test all my classes, but it didn't test the last one. So I'm gonna press the diamond next to the function. Maybe I should press Ctrl U to test the whole thing next time. Now we finish our second step, running the test and make sure it passes. So we go to the third step, refactored code. I'm gonna write two variables so I can put name and address inside the function. Okay, and it's going to pass, but there's a slight problem here. I forgot to write one more Excel test. I test the address, but forget about the name. But that's alright. I'm just gonna skip that step. You can do that if you want. Now I need to write the location for my to-do item. I need to add in a location for my to-do item. The first step is create an instance of a location, a copy of the location. And we have the data model already, so that's not gonna give us an error. And what you need to do next is to create an instance of to-do item, and this time we're gonna add an item element in to-do item. What I need to do now is add a variable location of type location and add an initializer, set it to nil, because user might not want to enter the location. Okay, press test. Well, it showed me an error. I forgot to put a space after the equal sign. Gonna add a space and press test again. Well, there's a warning there. It doesn't really matter. The compiler is telling you that the item is not used, but we're gonna use the instance item later on after we get this pass first. Well, it passes already, but that's alright, because in our step 1 it says you need to make the test fail. And when I look at my code, I forgot to add a assert test. That's what I'm gonna add in right now to make it fail. I also wanna add in some variables so I can pass these strings inside a function, the assert function, so I don't have to type them over and over again. You don't wanna typing error to mess up your test. And I'm gonna make all these assert tests equal to 1, so they're all gonna fail. and you press Command U to test, and you can see the error messages here, but I like to look at it in my other view. It's more clear. Yeah, you can see the diamond next to the fail assert test. Now I need to fix all these red diamonds. Step number 2, make it pass. The test pass, we need to look at code to see if we need to refactor anything, and we don't, so that's it. And on my video, I'll do the same thing, but this time it's gonna be for a view, the UI button.